Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm happy to be with you today here on the second day of this week, in which I'm talking about some ideas and little tidbits from the 92nd Psalm. So today I want to read you a few verses, beginning with verse 4. You thrill me, Lord, with all you have done for me. I sing for joy because of what you've done. O Lord, how great works you do, and how deep are your thoughts. Well, let me stop there a second. I'm going to read the next verse a little bit here. You thrill me, O God, with all that you have done for me. Well, it's often good to get our minds off of ourselves, think about others, think about others' problems so that ours may not be quite as big as we thought. Think about how God has worked in our lives. Now, you know, if you're kind of like me, you take a lot of things for granted. And if you're not walking with God in your daily lives, you probably don't do much of this thinking at all. But God is constantly doing all kinds of things. In fact, it says here, because what great works you do, not just little things, but great things. You know, I woke up this morning. I usually wake up with the sun. The summertime, I wake up earlier. Wintertime, I seem to wake up later. I'm not quite sure how that works, but it does. And I get up in the morning, and I'm fortunate that I have this really magnificent view right out of my room. And oftentimes I'll just stand there and look and see over the valley and all of the wonderful things that God's doing in this world around me. I live in a farming community. You may not live in such a place, but I can see the fields that right now are being plowed and those which haven't. And I see the smoke coming up from some of the chimneys. And if I get up just before the sun comes up, then I'll see houses with lights on. And I know that people are stirring, that somehow life is starting again in those houses down below me. And I'm just privileged to have that sight. Uh, Lots of people tell me we have a really great view, and we do. I wish everybody had the same. And right now, the rhododendron are blooming, and they're just special in our yards. And I think of how wonderful they look. But I didn't do anything for that beauty. Oh yeah, I bought the house and I cut down some trees so you could see a little better. But somebody before me did something. The person who built the house and started it. His name was Ace and Margie. And boy, I tell you, they sure built a special place, even though they didn't know they were building it for me. So many times we do things for somebody else and don't recognize that might be the case. But God is doing the same thing for you and for me. He gave us breath, He gave us food, He gave us drink, He gave us water to bathe in, He gave us electricity to heat up the place when it's cold. It's too easy to think that I'm in charge of my life when in fact I'm not. Years ago, when I was a young teenager, my parents had instilled in me to go to college. Now, I think they did that because they didn't go. But I went to college because I didn't know what else to do. It was just impressed upon me that this is what I do. And that started a long process of learning and exploring and thinking different things. And I've been privileged to live many different kinds of lives. Some people don't get but one. And I always wanted just one, but that's not what God seemed to be doing. And all of that, while I did the little meticulous things and the mechanical things and wrote out the checks and made the decisions and so on and so forth, all of it came because of something God did. He gave me my parents who had faults and troubles, who even weren't Christians as far as I know. But he gave me my parents who instilled something in me that today still lives. I can't take credit for how my life has turned out. Oh, I'm responsible for the bad parts. But the good things are so based on other things, which are based on other things, which are based on other things, that really only God's hand could have done this. Now, here's an interesting part to this. It's sort of, Lord, what great things, works you do, and how deep are your thoughts. And then listen to verse 6. Only a simpleton would not know, and only a fool would not understand this. I, I think that's funny. I mean, right in the middle of all this praising and all of this talking about God is this phrase that says, only a fool wouldn't see it. Only a simpleton wouldn't understand. So I'm going to ask this crazy question of you today. And, don't be insulted because I didn't write it, I just read it. Who are you? Are you one who understands all that God has done and is doing? Or are you a simpleton and a fool who thinks that somehow you did it yourself? Well, the answer to that question says an awful lot about who you are. I hope in the midst of your life today, you will see God at work because He's at work, even if you don't see Him. Well, thanks for listening. Hey, if you have a need or concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as you can to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another thought from the 92nd Psalm. Take care. I'll talk to you again.